Hello Cypher's community and welcome back to another World Tanks Console video. So in this video, I'm going to be listing the top 10 best tech tree tier 10s that you can have in World of Tanks. So I'm going to be using the win ratio to judge by this. Also, and I'm going to be using whitestars.com. So also, if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing because it's free and it helps out the channel a ton. So let's just start off with the number 10 spot. So the number 10 spot is one of my favorite tanks, which is the Italian medium tank, the Progetta 65. Such a powerful tank, and it has a 49.62% win ratio with 2,246,136 battles played in it, which makes it the second most played tank on this list. So the Progetta 65 has really good mobility. It goes 65 forward, 23 reverse with a power to weight ratio of 18.75. Its armor is decent. It's got 50 at the front, 40 at the hull, 40 on your sides, and your armor is really angled. I'm talking about hull armor. And it can pull also surprise ricochets, which is quite really nice. Also, it also has decent view range, 400 meters. Hit points is 1,900. Also, the gun is its main thing. Combined with its mobility, its wacky armor, its view range, plus this gun, this tank is very devastating. So this gun, it's an auto reloader, which means it loads continuously. So the first shell loads in at 19 seconds, second 17 seconds, third is 15 seconds, fourth is 13 seconds. Each shell doing 360 damage per shot with a pretty good aim time at 2.1 seconds. Its accuracy is really good at 0.33, and its gun diversion is 9 degrees. This tank can rack up damage very, very fast, and it has really good penetration. 268 on its standard, 330 on its premium, and 105 if you ever fire the high explosive. So yeah, and you have 9 degrees of gun diversion, like I said before. Center clip reload is 2.5 seconds. So if you time this right and play this really good, this tank has a really, really high skill cap. Where, yeah, this tank is just really good, and there's no limit to this tank. It's just a really fantastic tank. Recommend picking up that one. So the number 9 spot is one I do not own, but a lot of people know it. Also, there is a two-way tie between the 8th and 9th spot, and they both have a win ratio of 49.67, and the way I beat it is I put the one that has the higher battle count at number 8 and the lower one is at 9. So this is the tier 10 German super heavy, the Maus. It has a 49.67% win ratio with 1,446,716 battles played in it. So the Maus is all about the armor. The armor. This is basically what the armor is. So your turret armor is 260 millimeters at the front, and your your frontal armor is 200, which is insane. Your side armor is 185, so you are very, very heavily armored, and you have the most hit points in World War II at 3,000, which is enough to be considered an era 3. But you're very slow with a 25 forward speed with a reverse speed of actually really good at 15. Consider how bad the top speed is. The power to weight ratio is 9.3, so good luck climbing hills and stuff like that. Like I said, I've never played this tank, but I just know it's super heavily armored. If you play it correctly, you can just survive through everything. Also, it has a good gun at 12.8 centimeter, doing 490 damage per shot. DPM is 2,029, its penetration is 246 on its standard, 311 on its premium. Accuracy is okay at 0.38. Gun diversion is 8 degrees. And yeah, aim time is 2.3. And yeah, also it gets a multi-weapon system. Another gun. It gets a 75mm gun that does 110 damage per shot, and its penetration is 94 on its standard, 130 on its premium, and 38 on its high explosive. So the 130 could actually do some good. And the secondary gun is right above the main gun, so it's locked with the main gun. So let's move on to the number 8 spot. Now this tank is actually the most played tank on this list, which is the Odget 705A with a 49.67% win ratio with 2,781,440 battles played in the Odget 705A. Now, the Odget 705A, as you can see, it can side scrape. Just like the mouse can also side scrape, forgot to mention that. But yeah, the armor of the 705A is just really good. It's built to side scrape. So the turret armor has 330 millimeters of turret armor at the front, 175 of hull armor at the front, and its lower plate is 140, but it's also really angled, and its side armor is 100 millimeters thick. But you also got to go through the very thick tracks, which are 20 millimeters. But it's actually like a boat shape, so it makes it really hard to actually pin the side of a 705A, especially if you're not looking directly at it. This thing also gets 2,450 hit points. Its mobility is actually pretty good for a super heavy. It goes 38 forward, 12 reverse with a power to weight ratio of 15. But the gun is decent. It does 650 damage per shot. Definitely going to be hitting people for pretty hard. Its DPM is 2,230. Its penetration is 256 on its standard, 317 on its premium, and it has 5 degrees gun depression. Accuracy is at .44. Its aim time is 2.8 seconds. So yeah, 705A basically is a side scraping beast. You get around a corner and just hide your frontal part, and you side scrape around the corner, you're pretty much impenetrable. So good luck fighting one of these if it's side scraping around a corner. Now we move on to the number 7 spot. Now the number 6 and the number 7 spot is both from the same country. And I kind of, yeah. So they're both Polish. The 60PP is in 6th, the 7th is CS63. So we're going to be talking about the CS63. And also what's very interesting is their win ratio is nearly identical, only off by 0.01. So that just tells you how good the Polish tech trees are. So number 7 spot is the CS63 with a 49.84% win ratio with 393,918 battles. Now the CS63 gets a mode called Turbo Mode. Yeah, it is very, very fast. You have 2 modes. One mode, you got your starting mode, which is basically the mode that you are like your regular mode. It's mainly used for like shooting and stuff. Your forward speed in that is 55. Reverse speed is 15 with a power weight ratio of 18.12. But once you switch into your turbo mode, your gun accuracy and stuff like that gets worse, but your mobility gets better. Your forward speed goes from 55 to 70. Your reverse speed goes from 15 to 20 in turbo mode. So this makes this tank one of the fastest medium tanks in the entire game. That's also including Cold War. So yeah. Also kind of acts like a light tank with its 400 meters of view range. It has decent turret armor, 260 at the 260 at the front, 60 at the sides, and 40 at the rear. What about the hull armor? Also, you have 2,000 hit points. So your hull armor is not very thick, but it has some funky angles. Your lower plate is 90 millimeters at the front. Upper plate is 80, and your side is 50. So you can actually side scrape in this. I think, yeah, you can actually side scrape. But don't side scrape around 152 millimeter guns because those things will overmatch you. Also, the gun is decent, 390 damage per shot. Its DPM is 2,753, which is pretty high. Its aim time is 2.3. This is all like in the regular mode. 2.3 second aim time. Accuracy is 0.36. Penetration is 258 on its standard, 315 on its premium, and you also have 8 degrees of gun depression. So yeah, this tank plays like a light tank. It can get into a position very, very fast because it's turbo mode, and it can also wreck things because how good the gun is and its funky angles of its armor. So yeah, 63 is a fantastic tank. So now we move on to the number 6 spot, which is the 60 TP with a 49.85% win ratio with 1,479,329 battles played in the 60 TP. This is the Polish E100. I say the Polish E100 because it plays like an E100. It does 750 damage per shot, but also, unlike the E100, it can go hold down. With its 8 degrees of gun depression and its turret armor at 260 at the front, 150 at the sides, and 100 at the rear. You also have 2,600 hit points, and your frontal armor is pretty thick. 160 at the front, which is IS-4 thickness. 100 at the sides, ranging to 110 at the side, so you have pretty good hull armor also. But this tank loves to fight on a ridgeline. Use it 8 degrees of gun depression, hit somebody for 750 damage, which okay DPM at 2085, aim time is 3 seconds, and its accuracy is 0.39. Not really going to be getting there fast because your forward speed's only 35 forward, 14 reverse, but not bad for a super heavy. Is this tank considered a super heavy? It may just be considered a regular heavy. I don't know. But that gun hits hard, 750. And 8 degrees of gun depression, but it also has 2 little cupolas on top, so you gotta watch out for that. But using your 8 degrees of gun depression, it should hide those little cupolas on top. Now, this is another... So the number 5th spot is another tank I do not own, which is the Tier 10 Italian tank destroyer, the Minotauro. With a 49.86% win ratio with 27,505 battles. Now, not a lot of people have played this tank because it's only been in 27,000, which is by far the least amount of battles in a tier and on this list. So this tank has a autoloader. It has a weird, funky autoloader like the Italian tank destroyers do. So basically, the autoloader takes not that long to reload. It has a 25.6 second reload with how many shots per clip? 5 shots per clip, which is actually a very big clip, doing 530 damage per shot. But the inner clip reload is 8 seconds. So taking rapid loading on this tank is quite useless because your base reload for your actual gun is not long at all. But your armor is the main selling point of this tank. It has really good armor. 300 millimeters of armor at the front of its turret, 75 at the sides, and 50 at the rear. The whole armor is also 300 millimeters on the upper plate. Its lower plate is 190. So it's very, very thick armor at the front. What about side scraping? Can you side scrape in this tank? It is 75 millimeters of side armor on this tank. So you can actually side scrape in this tank, doing pretty decently. You also have 10 degrees of gun depression, so if you go hold down or use your 10 degrees of gun depression, good luck for anybody pinning you. So this thing has the good gun. It's a decent gun, but also it's all about the armor, really. The armor is where this tank shines. Using your 10 degrees of gun depression on a ridgeline, nothing's really going to survive. So yeah, speaking of armor, let's go to the next tank on the list, which is the number 4 spot, which is the T110E3. Now, the T110E3 has a 49.99% win ratio with 1,772,265 battles played in it. Now, the E3 is known for its armor. It has extreme amount of armor, but it does have a little frontal weak point. So the frontal armor of the E3 is 305 millimeters. Not many things are gonna go through that, especially when it's angled how it is, and it has funky angles at the front. But its lower plate can be pinned because the lower plate is 170 millimeters of armor. Not really good angles of the lower plate. So yeah, E3 is frontally heavily armored like crazy. It has 2,050 DPM, 2,050 hit points, Its DPM is 2,576. You're hitting for 850 damage per shot, which is a lot. Same time is 2.5 seconds. Its accuracy is 0.36. It has 8 degrees of gun depression, so it can fight on a ridgeline. Its mobility, you're not getting anywhere fast because your mobility is 24 forward, 10 reverse with a power to weight ratio of 11.71. Very slow, but has really, really good frontal armor. If anything gets in front of you, they're definitely going to feel the effects of the 3. So now we move on to the number 3 spot, which is another tier 10 I do not have. I have a lot of tier 10s, and the fact is that a lot of them on this list I do not own, which is very interesting. So the number 3 spot is the VZ55. It has a 50% win ratio, a nice even 50%, with 399,569 battles played in it. But I do know about the VZ55, which I do know it's Czech, right? Yeah, it's Czech. I had to remember what it was so I can look it up. So the VZ55 has... So, the VZ55 is also one of those tanks that gets 2 gun options. It gets a 130mm gun that does... It's a single shot, or with a better rate of fire, or you could play with the Czech heavy tanks are known for. They're double shot autoloaders. So that's what we're really going to be sticking towards. So basically, yeah. With these double shot, you have a 2,450 damage per DPM, and your single shot is 2,626 DPM. So we're just going to stick with the double shot, the autoloader, because that's what this tank's known for. It has a 22-second reload, 2 shots per clip, like I said. Inner clip reload is 2 seconds, but it's doing 490 damage per shot. So basically, you're doing 1,000 damage in 2 seconds if you're loaded. So that's a lot. Its penetration is 260 on its standard, 306 on its premium, and 68 on its high explosive. And if I remember correctly, it's pretty fast. Yes, it is. It goes 50 forward with a power to 50 forward, 15 reverse with a power to weight ratio of 15.45. It also has decent armor. Its turret armor is 300mm at the front, 150 at the sides, and 90 at the rear. Its lower plate armor is 140 on its hull. Its upper hull is 115. But it also has weird angles. It's pretty steeply angled. It also has 90mm of side armor, so it means it can side scrape. What about the gun depression? It has 8 degrees of gun depression, so it means it can work a ridgeline and hide its little cupolas on top, while still doing 1,000 damage to somebody. So yeah, if you choose to use the autoloader. And that's the gun I'm really going to be using on this tank when I get it. So yeah, not far from it. Anyway, so let's move on to the number 2 spot, which is the Object 430U. With a 50.19% win ratio, with 1,215,378 battles played in this tank. Now, the Object 430U is classified as a medium tank, but it has heavy tank stats. What does that mean? Well, the armor is mainly like a heavy tank. You can kind of, when you're top tier, well, you're always top tier. When you're fighting tier 8s, you can just sit out in front of them. They won't be able to defend you, even though you're a medium tank. Because your turret... Let's talk about turret armor first, because we go up to down. So turret armor is 300mm at the front, 195 at the sides, 65 at the back. Your hull armor is 160 at the front. So basically, you're like an IS-4 armor thickness and a medium tank form, with 105mm of lower plate armor. Also, the armor is decently angled. Your side armor is 60mm thick. So yeah, you also have 1,900 hit points. Your mobility, even for how much armor you have, is pretty good at 48 forward, 18 reverse, with a power to weight ratio of 14.29. And you also have a pretty good gun. It's also the IS-4's gun. It has a does 440 damage per shot, 252 millimeters of penetration on its standard, 340 on its premium, which is lower than the IS-4s. And it also has a DPM of 2,257, and its view range is 400. So basically, you're a medium tank that has heavy tank armor. Think about that. You also have pretty fast, pretty good gun. So yeah, medium, heavy tank. That's basically what this tank is. So let's move on to the number 1 spot. The number 1 spot is the Type 5 Heavy with a 50.22% win ratio with 1,678,422 battles played in the tank. Now, just like the Mouse, this tank is heavily armored. It also has really high hit points for tier 10, 2,800. Let's talk about that armor right quick. What about the turret armor? Turret armor is 280 at the front, 210 at the sides, 200 at the rear. Its armor on its hull is 270 at the front. That's basically all I gotta say. It's very thick. The only things that really going to be going through this tank is premium rounds. And people do love firing premium rounds, and sometimes the premium rounds are not efficient enough to go through this tank's armor. But, yeah. Also, you have a mobility of 25 forward with a reverse speed of 11, power weight ratio of 10.11, so you're not going to be going very fast anywhere. No. Also, this is one of those tanks that gets a multi-weapon system. So you got a little 47mm gun that does 70 damage per shot, and it has penetration of 81 at standard, 122 on its premium, and its high explosive is 25. Also, the gun is located in the hull and can swivel a little bit left to the right. So, this tank also has 2 gun options. It has a 14 centimeter, and a 15 centimeter. So the 15 centimeter does better damage, like double the damage. The 14 centimeter does 600 damage versus the 15 centimeter at 1,300, and that's a high explosive round. But yeah, and the penetration is higher on the 15 centimeter at 330 versus 310. So yeah, high explosive, ooh, really good. You gotta unlock that gun. So I am very close to unlocking the gun. Can't wait to get it because I really want to try out the 15 centimeter. The 14 centimeter is its standard rounds AP, so it's like doing the damage. But if you want to do nothing, just auto aim at people and just do like 500, 700 damage to people, that's the 15 centimeter basically. So yeah, this tank is heavily armored. It's very slow, but it also has a derp gun. So yeah. Also, it has 10 degrees of gun depression. Hello? I didn't know that. Anyway, that's it for this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, remember to stop fishing because water's not. And peace out. See ya.